What's up, guys? Brett Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back with another UFC quick picks on the Mayo Media Network. We have UFC 278 this weekend, Usman versus Edwards in the main event. 13 fights on the slate, should be a good one. And as usual, I'm going to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and I'm going to give you another tournament matchup to target as well. Before I do, make sure to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and comment below. Give me any underdog that's going to win. Any underdog you think that's going to win. Any fighter priced at 8K or below. Let me know in the comments section below. I think that's the biggest challenge on this slate. There's like half the slate or more is like minus 300 favorites or greater. So it is just really challenging to find any underdogs with win equity. And if you can correctly pick an underdog to win, you are going to have a chance to separate yourself from the field. So curious to hear who you guys like this weekend. Without further ado, let's move on to my cash game play of the week, which is going to be Kamaru Usman at 9.1K. All right, in cash games, I like Kamaru Usman this week in the main event, so it shouldn't be too much of a surprise. And we already have some data on how he'll match up with Leon Edwards, as the two fought a long time ago in 2015. That was Usman's first fight after winning the Ultimate Fighter, and of course he hasn't lost since. Edwards hasn't lost since either. 9 fights, 9 wins in a row, excluding the no contest against Belal Muhammad. He had a few fights prior to that in the UFC, but a very deserving rematch for Edwards on Saturday. And the problem for me in this matchup is that although Edwards has made strides, it's still going to be a very difficult matchup for him to have success in, because Usman is one of the best fighters in the sport, pound for pound, one of the best round winners in the sport. He's minus 365 to win. Edwards is plus 305 to win. And in that first matchup, Usman was able to take Edwards down 6 times, control him on the ground for a long period of time, and win decisively. And although Edwards has a striking pedigree and he theoretically can have success with his hands, the majority of his success in the UFC has actually come on the ground. I mean, in his last 9 wins, he's landed 2, 3, 3, 3, 1, 0, 2, 3, and 4 takedowns. And I just don't think he has any wrestling upside against Usman in this matchup. So for Edwards to win, he's going to have to defend takedowns, keep the fight upright, and then probably hurt Usman and knock him out. And I just don't think that outcome is extremely likely. So from a DraftKings perspective, Usman is among the safer options on the board, I think, at minus 365 to win. 5 rounds to work with. He landed 6 takedowns in this matchup in his first fight. Obviously, that's a long time ago, and it doesn't totally matter. But over 5 rounds, I do think Usman can land a few takedowns, earn control, land ground and pound. He's only plus 230 to win inside the distance, so not betting on a finish per se. But even if the fight plays out on the feet, Usman's averaging 4.66 significant strikes landed per minute. That's a very solid rate. We've seen him top out at 175 strikes landed against Colby Covington, where Edwards is still averaging 2.6 significant strikes landed per minute. And I just don't trust in his volume, even if he gets the fight he wants. So Usman, you can make an argument to come in lighter on him in tournaments, given the strength of this range. But in cash games, I really like the safety of him with the money line. I like the safety of him with 5 rounds. I like the safety in his wrestling ability. And I think 9.1K is a good price tag. So Usman is going to be my cash game play of the week. All right, moving on to tournaments. I'm going to give you maybe a sneaky option here, because I think Tyson Pedro is going to be an obvious target. I think Alexander Romanov is going to be an obvious target. Paulo Costa is going to be an obvious target. So who else do I like in this upper tier? One name that stands out to me a little bit is Jared Gordon at 8.9K. He is minus 260 to win against Leonardo Santos, and he's coming off a submission loss to Grant Dawson. So my hope is that he just comes in under-owned. And I don't have like the utmost faith in Gordon in this matchup, but I think it's important to note that this fight is taking place in Salt Lake City, Utah, so it's at elevation, which typically means fighters get tired more quickly than usual. And Leonardo Santos has very poor cardio. He's now like 42 years old, and he's coming off back-to-back losses in which he got tired and was finished. And in this most recent loss, he nearly knocked out Clay Guida in round 1, but was just exhausted 4 minutes into the fight, gave up takedowns, and was submitted, which is not great because Santos is a great submission grappler, like pedigree-wise. And so losing via submission to Guida just shows me exactly how exhausted he was by the 4 or 5 minute mark. And now fighting at elevation against a fighter in Gordon who fights at a tremendously high pace, 5.24 significant strikes landed per minute, 2.2 takedowns landed per 15. He has gone to war against some fighters, and I think over 15 minutes, Gordon has the pace to wear Santos down and potentially finish him. And the reason why he's not going to be that popular is because he's just not the greatest finisher, and he's only plus 230 inside the distance. So this isn't like a lock by any means. And if you want to just pay up for Romanov or Pedro, so be it. Though we won't get into the matchup today, but I'm not as high on Romanov in this matchup as the public is. Gordon at 8.9K I think is a little bit sneaky. I think Leonardo Santos may have some grappling success early. Santos is a good technical fighter, but I just don't trust the pace and the cardio dynamic over 15 minutes. And I think Gordon has some ground and pound, takedown, submission, knockout upside the longer this fight goes. So at 8.9K, Gordon rates out pretty well for me. Sneaky finishing upside there. He is going to be my tournament play of the week. All right, moving on to my salary play of the week. I want to talk about Merab Dvalishvili at 8.2K. And just this is as low as I can go, where I actually feel comfortable talking about the matchup, because once you drop below the mid-range, which is why I asked you guys for your underdog selections, it's just you're getting fighters who have one fight in the UFC or who are plus 300 underdogs, and there's just not a lot of options. So Merab at 8.2K does save you a lot of salary, and he's a historically profitable fighter from a DraftKings perspective. This guy puts up insane numbers in wins, and I'll just rattle them off here. 129, 124, 136, 148, 74, 108, and 164, and almost all of those, except for one, came in a decision. Merab lands takedowns. Sorry, let me pull up his metrics here. Merab is averaging 7.3 takedowns landed per 15 minutes, and he's also averaging 4.26 significant strikes landed per minute. Now, he's fighting Jose Aldo, which is why he's only minus 140 to win, and he may just lose the fight. I mean, this is a matchup where Aldo could succeed. Merab is coming off a win against Marlon Moraes, in which he was very badly hurt in the first round. Survived, came back strong to win by TKO in round 2. But outside of Aldo damaging Merab, I just don't think he's going to produce enough offense to win. He averages 3.6 significant strikes per minute, absorbing 3.7 per minute, averages 0.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. Historically, great takedown defense for Jose Aldo, but he's had a long career. He's been fighting since 2008, or at least he's tracked since 2008. In recent fights, I mean, he's given up takedowns to Marlon Moraes and Peter Yan and Rob Font in his last fight. And if Rob Font can take you down, I just think Merab, who's so aggressive, so physical, attempts 20-plus takedowns per fight. I think he's going to land takedowns here. And Aldo was another fighter that can get worn down. And at elevation, I just wouldn't be so confident that down the stretch, Aldo doesn't get tired. And if you're getting taken down and you're tired by Merab, there's a lot of grappling upside here in takedowns and ground and pound, and even some finish upside as well. Merab doesn't have a great inside distance line, and he will be popular. Plus 325 inside the distance. Not spectacular, but historically speaking, Merab has a incredible ceiling, and I think this is a fighter you need exposure to each and every time. And my hope is that his ownership is lesser than it should be because he's fighting a big name in Jose Aldo. And if Aldo knocks him out, so be it. You can have exposure to Aldo in this fight for like leverage purposes because he'll be lower owned than Merab. But Merab in a win is going to land takedowns, going to land strikes at a high rate, ground and pound, and has some finishing equity as well. So I really like him at 8.2K. Saves you a good amount of salary there. All right, and finally, my tournament matchup of the week that I want to target is going to be Paulo Costa versus Luke Rockhold. Costa is another big favorite, like a lot of these fighters are, minus 390 now. Rockhold plus 320 on DraftKings. Costa is 8.7K, Rockhold 7.5K. So Costa is going to be the more popular fighter of the two. I think he's the more obvious side of the two. Obvious knockout upside against Rockhold, who is a all-time great in the middleweight division, but has won. His last win is 2017. He's won once since he earned the title over Chris Weidman in 2015, and he hasn't fought since 2019. So the expectation for Rockhold is not high here. He's been knocked out in each of his last 3 losses by Bisping, Yoel Romero, Jan Blachowicz, and Costa's a dangerous dude. Costa's an aggressive striker, and it feels very likely that at some point Costa's going to land on Rockhold's chin and knock him out. And Costa is minus 160 to win inside the distance at 8.7K. Another fighter you definitely need exposure to, a great tournament target. However, I do respect the talent of Rockhold, and I think he can have some success here, especially if he can get the fight to the ground. Rockhold is a good kicker and can have success at kicking range, but otherwise has like an elite top game. And even at this age, I would trust Rockhold, if he gets on top, to have success. Really good submissions, good control, dangerous ground and pound, and I just don't totally trust Costa. He defends takedowns well historically at 80%, but, gave up a takedown to Yoel, gave up takedowns to Olawale Bambose in 2017, gave up a takedown to Marvin Vettori last time out. I wouldn't be so confident that Rockhold just can't land a takedown here, and if he does, Rockhold has finishing upside on the ground, and he's only plus 500 to win inside the distance. But again, he's plus 320 to win. He's being counted out for any chance to win, and I think that's fair given the durability angle. But I do think Rockhold is live from a technical perspective if he can survive. At some point, I think he's likely to get knocked out, but I really do like the ground game from Rockhold. And at 7.5K, we have to take chances somewhere. I like Rockhold at 7.5K for that grappling upside, for the leverage, for the salary savings, and it's a matchup that I'm going to be quite heavy on as a whole. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this week's UFC Quick Picks. Thank you again for the support. You can follow me on Twitter, Appley, @TTPP, dailyfanmma.com for all your DraftKings breakdowns needs. Just finished a 2-hour-long podcast with my boy Technical Tim covering every single fight on the slate. Got rankings, projections, breakdowns, written breakdowns, all that stuff coming as well. So dailyfanmma.com if you want any more information. Again, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. Let me know who you're picking to win with an upset underdog 8K or below this weekend. Thank you guys for the support. Really appreciate it. Best of luck in your contests. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.